Hi, Genies. It's Fisher. Before we get started, just a quick thank you for getting Extreme Genes to where it is today. We're on radio stations all over America, and our podcast is growing exponentially. I'm often asked, what can I do to support Extreme Genes? Well, that's easy. Become a part of our Extreme Genes Facebook community and like our page. Share the podcast with your friends. Follow us on Twitter. And most importantly, support our sponsors through links on our website. They're the best in the business. Thanks again. Now let's get on to this week's podcast.
Yeah, I don't think Mother knew about this.
Uncle Marvin was strangled by his own beard.
Yeah, never saw it coming.
Hello, Genies across the fruited plains. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth on Extreme Genes, America's family history show, and extremegenes.com. Nice to have you along. And this segment of the show is brought to you by 23andme.com DNA. Very excited today to have Josh Taylor on the show. And many of you probably know him from the PBS program Genealogy Roadshow. He's one of the hosts there. And he wears many hats. And another one is he is the head of the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society. And this is a society that's struggled a lot recently. So many people across the country, in the South, in the West, in the Midwest. You're going to want to hear what Josh has to say about what he's doing to revitalize the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society. So I'm looking forward to that conversation coming up in about 8 minutes. Later in the show, we'll talk to a Minnesota man who, as a Cub Scout, had the opportunity to visit with the last surviving veteran of the Civil War. Unbelievable story. Look forward to talking to Robin Hoff later on in the show. But right now, let's check in with my good friend, the chief genealogist for the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org, David Allen Lambert. How are you, David?
Hey, things are great in Beantown. How are things with you, Fish?
Awesome. And by the way, we got a little note here about something we talked about a few weeks back.
Oh, okay.
And it's from Barbara Bessie Campbell, and she said, I was listening to your show and was surprised to hear that your wife, my wife, and David Allen Lambert are both descendants of Tristram Coffin of Nantucket Island. He's also my ancestor.
Sure.
And she said, I dreamed of visiting Nantucket one day, and in 2007, we were actually able to go. She said, I found a lady who gave tours on the island in her van, so we signed on. I told her I was a descendant of Tristram Coffin, and she said that she was sixth generation Nantucket, so we were probably related. And then she said, a lot of the Coffins are sort of crazy. That's why they say don't marry someone with your same ancestry on the island.
Ooh, well, that gives new meaning to keeping it in the family. I can say that my family was only on Nantucket for that one generation. The daughter married and lived on the mainland. So any insanity in the family cannot be attributed to my Coffin genealogy, at least.
There you go.
I'm generally not a couch potato, but I can tell you when I was a kid I was. And back in 1977, as an 8-year-old, I sat fixed to the TV as Roots graced the television. Now, this has happened again. A redo of Roots has been on the History Channel, started Memorial Day and went on last week, and I was fascinated. It's a redo of it, and of course, Alex Haley's Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Roots, influenced so many genealogists, as I'm sure it probably captivated you as well.
Oh, absolutely. Watched every episode of it back in the day.
I was fixated with those Southern belles from Virginia and North Carolina, and of course the heart-wrenching stories of slavery, and it really kind of brings history alive. My hat's off to new genealogists that are inspired once again by what Alex Haley put forth back almost 40 years ago now.
Isn't that incredible? Hey, did you hear this story, by the way, out of Mistley, England? If you would like to own a Cold War-era nuclear bunker, there's one on sale there for $1.6 million.
Hey, well,
Yeah.
you know, that's a nice little summer place. Now, did you have one of those when you were a kid? You're from that duck and cover generation, aren't you?
I am. And actually, yes, when we had the Cuban Missile Crisis and I was growing up in Connecticut, my dad and a neighbor, we lived in the backwoods. They actually ordered in a big oil tank, each of them. And so we actually buried them out in the woods with sand on top and a crank inside to bring in fresh air through a filter. We had wood floors that you could lift up and store it all. I bet you our food is still there from the 1960s. It was a great adventure for a little boy to see all this. Hey, we're going to be in here and everybody else is going to be dead.
Oh, no. You know, I'll tell you, we're losing our World War II veterans, and sadly, Melvin Rector, who was one of the gunners from the famed Memphis Belle, did a tour back to England, and as you probably saw in the news, sadly, he passed away touring all the sites that he helped defend over 70 years ago.
Right on the site of one of the places. Unbelievable.
It really is. Brings a tear to your eye thinking that he made it all the way back over there, and, he survived it. Also across the sea, there's been some recent archaeological work done on Queen Victoria Street in London, the new site of the headquarters for Bloomberg, and they have discovered 410 tablets dating back to the Roman era from about 65 to 80 AD.
Wow.
It's the oldest handwritten reference that exists for London, and on it says in Latin, London Mognotius, a Celtic personal name that's carved into this piece of wood. These are little tablets that were fixated with beeswax, and before this recent discovery, only 19 such tablets had been ever discovered in London. So this is amazing. I mean, think about the little Post-it notes that we leave around our office. If all of a sudden a mudslide came in and they would discover wonderful things like, hey, it's time to do the Extreme Genes show, then they'd try to figure out what Extreme Genes was.
Right, yeah. And this guy's name is on that. That's incredible.
It really is. So if you are related to Mognotius in your family tree.
Yeah, might be a little treat there for you.
Exactly. My tech tip is kind of an anniversary gift, if you will. My grandmother and her first husband, she was married twice, were first married in September 1916, and it dawned on me it's 100 years ago. And I am now reassembling all of the genealogy notes on all my grandmother's descendants from both those marriages, gathering the pictures up, and putting together a PDF file with a mini genealogy of the descendants. And on her anniversary, I'm going to send it to all of those who are interested. But in the meantime, I'm going to contact them through social media, on the phone, maybe even get a summer family reunion going. And then in 2018, I'll do the same thing for my paternal grandparents. So a grandparent anniversary gift that you can share even after your grandparents are gone.
Love it.
NEHGS, as you know, has guest user databases. All you have to do is go to AmericanAncestors.org. We got a real great surprise, which is a tie-in with our good friend Josh Taylor and New York G&B. We are putting all of our New York databases for free for guest users for the month of June. Having just got back from Albany, New York, I can say that it's nice to be able to direct people to sources that we have right here at NEHGS. Well, that's all I have for Beantown. Catch you next week.
All right. Thanks so much, David. Talk to you then. And coming up next, we are going to talk to the Chief Executive Officer of the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society and host of the Genealogy Roadshow, Josh Taylor, coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. Well, Genies, my personal family history researcher who sends me new information day and night has sent me some incredible new records and newspaper stories lately. Hi, it's Fisher, and the name of that researcher, by the way, is myheritage.com. It's the hardest working service in genealogy, looking for records of your family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, even while you're sleeping. How does it work? MyHeritage uses hundreds of algorithms to match your ancestors to over 5 billion records from around the world, and with 97% accuracy. That means no more wasting time figuring out whether or not a match really is a match. I hear from listeners all the time who are shocked with how much information is accurately found and then passed along. And now MyHeritage will translate your ancestors' names into English or any other language you like from foreign records. In fact, it works with over 40 languages. No one else does this. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned researcher, you need myheritage.com.
Legacy Tree Genealogists is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've been working with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies and find missing cousins or heirs to property. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476. Call now or register online to get a free estimate. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research, you enjoy the discoveries. LegacyTree.com.
You know, everybody needs a place of their own to plant their family tree, preferably one that no one else can mess with and only you can control. That perfect place is Roots Magic. Roots Magic has been a family history standard for years, and now Roots Magic 7 is on the market. It's an award-winning genealogical software program which makes researching, organizing, and sharing your family history easy. You can start from scratch or import data from other software or even Family Search. Roots Magic also automatically finds records relating to your ancestors from MyHeritage, Family Search, and soon Ancestry and Find My Past. You can use it to create beautiful charts, reports, and books. And have you ever thought about making your own family history website? Roots Magic can make that happen too. And of course, there are free videos, guides, and technical support to help you along. Isn't it about time you planted your family tree? Whether you're a beginning genie or experienced professional, Roots Magic is the perfect tool for you.
And welcome back to Extreme Genes, America's family history show, and extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, the radio root sleuth, and this segment is being brought to you by Roots Magic. And I'm very excited to have on the phone a guy I've gotten to know a little bit over the last few years who's got quite a track record in the field of family history. His name is Josh Taylor. He used to work at NYG&BS years ago. He is the current president of the Federation of Genealogical Societies. He's one of the hosts of Genealogy Roadshow, and he recently took over the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society, an organization that's very close to my heart because of many of my associations with New York City and my ancestry there have actually been published in their record several years ago. Josh Taylor, welcome to Extreme Genes.
Hey, thank you for having me, and happy to be here.
You know, sometimes I look at your resume, Josh, and it's like you're four people.
Well, I believe in getting involved. It's one thing that I love about the genealogical and the family history community is there are so many opportunities to volunteer and to sort of share talents and also to learn a lot. Well,
there's no doubt. And, you know, the learning never ends. And look at the growth of the industry over the last 10 years and the benefit to so many people who are listening right now who may just be getting started. Let's talk about NYG&BS. Now, this organization has been around for, it's coming up on 150 years here soon, right?
Yes, 150 years in just a couple years.
And we have to acknowledge the fact that it has had some very difficult times in the last few years. A lot of cutbacks in the organization, a lot of budgeting issues, a lot of materials cut back as well that were typically shared in the past. You've come on to bring this thing back to the full life and the full status that it deserves. Tell us a little about the history of NYG&BS and where you're going to be taking it.
Well, the New York G&B, or sort of some of us call it the G&B, was set up in 1869 and has been gathering records about New York from that time period. Those collections are now safely housed in the New York Public Library, so they're still accessible for researchers to access. You know, anytime you want to come visit New York City, you can look in the records there. But one thing that we're really focusing on is recognizing the fact that there is a little bit of New York in a lot of people all throughout the United States, and in fact, all through the world.
That's right.
The G&B has a history of being very, very good at gathering records for some of those early New York City families or the sort of colonial Dutch, the influences there. And I'm looking much more to expand that to make sure that whether it's the New Yorker that arrived in sort of 1630 or 1650 compared to the New Yorker that might have arrived in 1950, all of those stories deserve to be told, and that's what sort of today's G&B will begin to offer you.
So you're looking at a much broader range of time spans, perhaps, a lot more emphasis perhaps on the 20th century?
Absolutely. More emphasis on the 20th century, even on the 19th century, and especially looking at, how can we curate records for you? How can we provide more and more content, but also become a gathering point for a lot of those stories? And so there's a lot of work to be done. We have thousands of members now. We're looking to sort of increase that, but one of the big things we want to do is make sure that whether you're living in California or Texas or Idaho or wherever you are, that you'll find some sort of a resting place at the G&B.
Well, and I think that's really got to be the goal, because as you say, there's so many New Yorkers of some degree all over the country and all over the world for that matter. What's happening online with it now?
Online, our digital library is now hosted at Find My Path, so we're working to sort of add more and more collections to that. So one of my key goals for the first year or two is to start looking into some of those great G&B collections that are stored at the New York Public Library and see if we can find ways to digitize those collections and actually bring them to members. Because the advantage we have with sort of the online resource is that you don't have to walk into a library to experience the G&B. So we're working to build a web or digital experience that allows you to take part in the G&B and tell your New York story.
Now, you were talking about the Dutch records back in the day, and of course we lost so many of them in that fire in 1911 up in Albany. What has been recovered from that, or maybe has been duplicated elsewhere that you might be able to provide people?
It's a great question. We're just finishing work on a new publication. It's an authorized guide to the municipal archives in New York City, specifically for genealogists and historians. And there's an entire chapter on some of those old colony and some of those Dutch records. But it really attempts to unearth and describe a lot of materials that are in those municipal archives that haven't necessarily been available for genealogists, or at least not on the forefront of their minds. So we're really working to make sure that we tell the story of where those records are. And so in that example, the municipal archives, the new guide coming out is a great example of some of those tools that will be out there.
I couldn't agree with you more, too. Last year, of course, we were both back for A.J. Jacobs' largest family reunion in the world. And, of course, I had to take time to go to the municipal archives and research some of my ancestors. And what I was really excited about was they were able to provide for me the fireman records of New York City from the 19th century. And these are not really readily available anywhere. I had tracked down an old listing from the 1950s of what they were supposed to have had, and somehow they dug them up, and they were absolutely priceless. They were gold. And I communicated with the head of the New York archives, the municipal archives, that these things need to be digitized. And he was very cooperative. And I would assume he's probably working very close with you as well.
Yeah, we're doing this in sort of full cooperation with the municipal archives. So we're very glad to have their support, and our sort of team is there. And every time they discover a new record set, they share it with us. And so we're working to get everything compiled in this publication. So it'll be a great first step, I think, in unlocking the door to a lot of those records that are sitting there. Give
us an idea of some of the things that you found out about that were there that just made you go,
Actually, the fireman's records that you brought up were one thing that's sort of looking at this giant list of things. There's also all sorts of records about bodies in transit.
Yes.
which are fascinating.
Yes.
And then some of the almshouse records. We often struggle to research an ancestor that might have been, poor or not necessarily in as many records, but those almshouse records and some of the registers there are incredible and give you great details. So there's something for everyone at the municipal archives, I think, if you're looking at New York City genealogy.
All right, Josh, the archives is a great place, of course, to be working with. Who else are you partnering with to try to bring these records together?
We, of course, work closely with the New York Public Library. We're involved in a lot of their public programming. But we also sponsor research tours to various repositories. So we go to areas like, for example, the Evergreen Cemetery.
Yes.
We're doing a tour there in their archive. And then we're going up to the New York State Archives and the Manuscript Division up in Albany, New York. We do that every year, where we take a group of folks up and do sort of we'll hold your hand through the archives and give you a step-by-step look at what records you want to examine. The other thing that we do, of course, is we're now in our third year of the New York State Family History Conference, which is a partnership between the New York G&B and local societies within New York. So we're looking forward to more events like that in the very near future.
It really is kind of hard to categorize certain things, isn't it, Josh? Because, for instance, Westchester County, just outside of New York City, is so important to searching out families from the city itself. And Albany has a lot of state records, but there's not necessarily a real association between the city and Albany. It's a difficult thing to search, and I think it's getting better, but that's a great partnership to explore.
Yeah, and then one thing on our website at NewYorkFamilyHistory.org that you can explore, even if you're not a member, but there's a couple of free research aids and articles on there that will help to sort of navigate you through a lot of those repositories. And if you are a member, you also have access to some of the county guides and other resources that actually will give you details for a specific area in New York that you're researching in, because there, as you mentioned, there is so much to find. Sometimes all you need is that helping hand to figure out where to look first.
Boy, that's really the truth. I remember working with some people at the Firefighters Museum in New York City, and they said you might actually have better luck finding things outside of the city because they have so many repositories with so much stuff, they don't even know what they have. And that's really part of the challenge of researching New York. The good news is there's so much stuff. The bad news is there's so much stuff.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I hope that the G&B that we can partner with more are some of the local and town historians, because they usually have a pretty good handle on what's there. They can at least give you a clue to what room or to what repository to look at. So all sorts of connections that we can make in the future.
Yeah, I think that's the key here is trying to bring everybody together, maybe into one place, like you say, where you have all the finding aids in one area on your site where people can know, oh, I can deal with Westchester County or Dutchess County or Putnam County, or some areas even in northern New Jersey, which fed into New York City. There's a lot of interaction between families there as well.
Yeah. My New York roots actually extend into Connecticut, New Jersey all the time. So I sort of look around and realize that it really isn't just about New York City. It's about all the areas that touch it and everywhere else.
So once again, the website address is what?
So the web address is NewYorkFamilyHistory.org, and you can visit there for some links on how to find online New York records and some of the research aids that we can provide you that will actually guide you through how to do research within New York. The other thing that you can view through the website are the records, sort of our publications. So it also is nearing its 150th birthday.
Unbelievable.
And it includes articles that you can use as case studies and record extracts and all sorts of things that are available for you.
Hey, let's talk real quickly before you go about Genealogy Roadshow. You're in your third season there as one of the hosts. Tell us about how you got going in that and what we're looking forward to in the weeks ahead.
I actually got started with a call from the production team in the very, very beginning. That they asked me if I had any interest in doing it, and I said, sure, why not? And I did a quick Skype interview, and the rest is really history. I was fortunate enough to be brought on as a producer, actually, for this third season. And so I worked as a consulting producer to help, guide some of the research and guide some of the stories. And so it was a bit of a different world for this genealogist to be sitting in a TV production room, a TV production office.
I'll bet.
A lot of fun.
He's Josh Taylor. He's the president of the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society, the Federation of Genealogical Societies. He's a host on the Genealogy Roadshow, former member NEHGS. What does this man not do? Josh, thanks for coming on, and good luck with this project. It's an important one, and we're pulling for your success.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
And coming up next, we'll talk to a man who, as a Cub Scout many years ago, got to visit with the last surviving Civil War soldier. How did that go? We'll talk to Robin Hoff coming up in 5 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks. Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style of genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
And welcome back. It is Extreme Genes, America's family history show on ExtremeGenes.com. This segment brought to you by LegacyTree.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth. And, you know, one of the things I really love about talking to our guests about are their travels. And we've actually got a guest right now who's traveling in Maine. He's from Tustin, California. Robin Hoff is on the line with his wife, Mary, right now. Where are you guys?
We're in the Freeport-Durham area of Maine right now, Scott. How you doing?
Doing great. Now, you guys have been on a genealogical tour, at least Mary has, and I guess you're her official driver. Is that how it works, Robin?
I think that's pretty much it, yeah, although she's been chasing my genealogy, so I guess I'm both the subject and the driver at the same time.
Very nice. Now, what's been the big find or the big experience on this trip so far? Because you've obviously gone over 3,000 miles.
Yeah, as I was going to say, it's about 3,200 so far, and we haven't headed back home yet. There have been days like yesterday when it poured, I wished I'd headed home, you know. Yeah. But no, it's been a wonderful trip. Big finds. Well, I don't know. We came over the mountains into Salt Lake City. Mary had hoped to do some research there, but unfortunately, our brand new RV decided to act up.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of a little adventure and travel. You know how that is.
Sure.
I don't know that we made any great genealogical finds between here and there, but Mary's been making copious notes and that sort of thing. And then after leaving Indiana, then it got a little more interesting. We got to the Mohawk Valley in New York, where the Mohawk River, where my ancestors kind of started their journey westward in the early 1600s. They came, of course, first to New York proper and New Jersey in that area from Holland.
Very nice.
I've gone through 70 years of life, Scott, thinking that I was of German ancestry, and I was absolutely wrong. So I've switched now from German beer to Heineken beer. That's okay. Everything will be fine.
Well, Robin, I heard about a story that you experienced a little bit earlier in life, back when you were a Cub Scout. And you were a Cub Scout. You were obviously in a very active den at the time, and you had a leader who obviously felt that it was going to be of benefit to you to meet a figure of some historical significance. Tell us about this visit.
Well, it's really, I got to understand that I was probably 9 or 10 years old at the time.
Okay.
So my recollection is somewhat foggy. But you're absolutely right. They put together a bunch of us, and we went down and sat with Albert Wolfson, who was the last surviving Civil War, I believe, Union Civil War veteran. And he ultimately passed away, I think, in about 1956.
Yes.
In Duluth, and is buried there about 3 or 4 blocks from where I grew up. So we had a chance to meet him. I don't have a lot of memory of it. In my mother's thing, she had a picture of me sitting there with a few other Cub Scouts and Albert Wolfson, who was obviously quite advanced in age at that time.
Sure.
I'm thinking it was probably about 1952, maybe, 52 or 53.
Somewhere in there. And what was that experience like for you?
I do remember being somewhat impressed with the fact that he'd been in the Civil War. Of course, young boys get a kick out of that. that's pretty much it. He was also a frequent, almost every year. 4th of July time, would ride in the local parades and things like that. I was not there when he passed. If I was, I don't remember it. Did not attend the funeral. My brother-in-law did. He remembers it very well. But they had a funeral procession with all the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and I certainly do remember, seeing him and, of course, seeing his gravesite. I've seen that many times.
What do you know about his service, Robin?
Well, I don't know a great deal except that he was a drummer boy, and he enlisted in an artillery outfit out of Minnesota. I understand that they never did see combat, but they were down on, was it Lookout Mountain, where I've been there with my parents as a young lad. And I know they got down that far, and then I think ultimately they mustered out there.
Isn't that amazing? The drummer boys were often very young. I know that the first casualty of the Civil War for Brooklyn, New York, was a drummer boy. He was 12 years old who was accidentally wounded in training and then died as a result of his wounds. So often they're young kids who are out there. So that might explain also how a Civil War veteran could live until the mid-1950s.
Yeah, I think he was over 100, I believe, and I think there's some dispute whether he was 106 or 107. So yeah, he did live a long and full life and saw a lot of history pass as we look at it now.
Have you noticed that it seems with each war, the last veteran seems to get just a little bit older? The last World War I vet passed about 5 years ago or so, or 8 years ago or something like that, about 107, 108 years old. And it makes you think that we're going to see World War II veterans living up to about 110, which would put them well into the 2030s.
That is amazing. It really is. Once again, though, and as I'm sure you do in my generation, I have some friends who lied about their age and went into the Army early in World War II, early for them, and, age 16 and so on. But even they are a little bit old and stooped now. Yeah. And I suppose that's coming to all of us, isn't it?
No question about it.
Two Minnesota direct ancestors that fought in the Civil War. One, a direct descendant, I'd have to figure out how many grandfathers ago it was a fellow named Abraham Hoff. And he has an interesting story. He enlisted and first in the Mounted Cav. And they were called into service to quell the Indian uprisings in Minnesota, southern Minnesota, the New Alma Rising, and also called the Sioux Uprising, and into the Dakotas. And he marched up into the Dakotas with them and helped put down the insurrection, I guess, got out, went back to Fillmore County, which is in southern Minnesota near the Iowa border, took up whatever he was doing before as a trade. And the records indicate that he re-enlisted in the 1st Minnesota when they reconstituted them after the slaughter at Gettysburg.
Wow.
And continued to fight with them throughout that, and was discharged, was at Appomattox, and was discharged at the close of hostilities and sent home.
Isn't that great?
Isn't that a great story?
Yeah, isn't that great that you know the story, too? And I'm sure, it's
great. I have to tell you, we researched it, of course, and gotten documents from the National Archives, and we hope to do some research. He was apparently quite active in the GAR in his later years, and we hope to get some. On our way back, we're going to stop in Minnesota and try and do some digging into that, find out just what he looked like.
Robin, it's been a delight talking to you. I was thinking about this. You've met a Civil War veteran as a boy. If you were to go and meet like a Gulf War veteran right now, you could actually span a very wide piece of history, don't you think?
I think so. I really do.
Well, listen.
I'm retired. I should point out that I'm retired Army as well.
Well, God bless you, and thank you for your service, sir, and thank you so much for your time and telling us this amazing story. I don't think I've spoken to anybody in any recent times who had actually visited with a Civil War veteran, but you're the one. Robin Hoff from Tustin, California, on the road in Maine with wife Mary, tracing down their ancestry. Thanks so much.
Okay.
And coming up next, we're going to take a listener question for Tom Perry, our Preservation Authority, about how some big box stores take your home movies and videos and make them their copyrighted material. How does that happen? You'll find out in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes.
When someone asks, what is Forever.com, I tell them it's a new kind of digital storage, like for your photos and documents and all the family memories. And they always shoot back with, well, that's not a very new thing. There's Facebook, Shutterfly, Flickr. Then I say, oh, but on Forever, you own all your content. There's no third-party ads, and it's guaranteed for your lifetime, plus 100 years. Do the others do that? Okay, so like I said, Forever.com, a new kind of digital storage. You are the chief memory officer of your family. You get that frantic phone call about the reunion in 2 days and they need the slideshow, and you're ready because you use Forever.com. Photos, news clippings, heck, you automatically upload the photos on your cell phone every day. You have everything digitally stored and organized where you can share it privately with your friends and family. No ads, and it's permanent, guaranteed for generations. Yes, you are the chief memory officer, and you have Forever.com.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andMe.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andMe.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andMe.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andMe.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andMe.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andMe.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andMe.com.
Did you know that Family Search Family Tree is available through a powerful new mobile app experience? That's right. Now you can view, edit, and even add information to ancestors in your family tree whenever and wherever you are. You no longer need to wait to get home or make a date with your computer to view or update your family tree. You can add details to your tree when visiting with family or when capturing details from a trip to the cemetery. You can share new family history discoveries from classroom settings. You can even make the most of your time when waiting for doctor appointments or car repairs. Get started today by downloading the free Family Search Family Tree app to your Apple or Android device. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to get the Family Tree app for free. Exploring and expanding your family tree has never been more convenient. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to download the Family Search Family Tree mobile app today.
It is preservation time on Extreme Genes, America's family history show, where we talk about how to preserve your precious heirlooms and your information and your photographs and your videos and your home movies. Tom Perry is here from tmcplace.com. He's our preservation authority. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
I got a great message here. No name on it, but here's the question, and it's kind of complex, so see if you can follow along at home. This question is for Tom. He says, I have a gizmo that connects between my camcorder and my computer and transfers and digitizes my high 8 tapes. After listening to Tom talk about the buy cheap, get cheap results of this method, I began looking for local professional alternatives for digitizing these. I'd hoped to find a place that did the work on site rather than send them out. Well, I guess I'm too much of a worrywart and want a pad in my favor for less chance of accidents or whatever might destroy my only copy of this tape. Anyhow, I got into a conversation with someone in the photography department of a local chain store and was explaining that I wanted to digitize my tapes and then every couple of years upgrade to fresh discs or the newest medium, whichever applied. I was outraged to learn that when you digitize through them, the disc is protected and I can't make copies. A friend discovered the same thing after the fact at a local drugstore and was as outraged as I was. Is this the case because these are big chain stores, or does this apply even if I took them to a professional preservation company like Tom's? All right, Tom, great question.
You know, in my opinion, that's so wrong. I came up through this industry in photography, and I would know a lot of people that charge high amounts of money to do somebody's wedding, and then they wouldn't let them copy their VHS tapes. They would charge them, make them do all the prints through them. And, you know, that's their business. They can do what they want to. I was never like that. When I give something to somebody, it's theirs. They can do whatever they want. If people bring VHS tapes, audio tapes, anything into us, we never put copyright information on it. It's their property. They can do whatever they want to. But unfortunately, as this gentleman's found out, a lot of the big box stores and even some local companies, they do that because I guess your initial payment to them isn't enough. And I don't agree with that. I don't think it should be like that. However, unfortunately, it is that way. And there used to be a device around called a decipher that you could actually put between your box and make copies. And they were basically ruled illegal, and they're not even available anymore. Once in a while you see them on eBay, but they're like $200 or $300. So for an individual, it wouldn't be worth it. So what you need to do is just keep searching. Find somebody that will do it for you locally so you don't have to send them out, but doesn't put the copyright information on them. But you're absolutely, right. Usually if, you're paying a couple $100s for a piece of equipment, the chances are it's not going to do the same job that we do, or we'd go to Walmart and buy the equipment instead of, spending $3,500 for a transfer machine that does everything in real time. And as we've talked in past episodes too, you want to always make sure you interview the people and find out how their process actually works. There's so many different things that you need to go over to make sure whoever you're doing it with locally does it right. And I understand it's always scary to send stuff off, knock on wood, but in our 40 years, we've never ever lost anything through UPS, through FedEx, and even through the mail. We've been 100%, good. But I can understand, if you're scared, you don't want to do that.
So, Tom, how is it that a store can claim to own the right to your material once they've transferred it? I don't understand legally how that's even possible.
I think it's one of those things, if it actually went to the Supreme Court, it might get overturned. The thing is, there's works out there, just like if you work for a certain company and you develop something while you're working for them and you leave, that's really their property.
Right.
So it's just a mismatch of lawyers and different things like that. What I would do is I would go to them and say, hey, I want you to sign this thing saying that I have all the rights to my stuff, and see if they'll do that. If they say no, then they say no. But that's another thing with the big box stores that really scares me, is a lot of times, your stuff won't get done properly. And right after the break, I'll tell you some horror stories of some customers have told us by going to the big box stores.
Oh, boy. And we'll also find out about how to upgrade your discs, too.
Exactly.
As things change over time. That'll be in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style of genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com. 23andme.com.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andme.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andme.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andme.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andme.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andme.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andme.com.
Hey, we're back. Final segment of Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show on extremegenes.com. We're talking preservation with Tom Perry from tmcplace.com. It is Fisher here. Hey, before the break, we were talking about a listener question. They had taken some materials in to get digitized at a local digitizer and learned that the material they got back was now copyrighted by the people who did the transfers. Now, I don't know how that's even possible. But you said you had even worse stories than this.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Like everybody says, anything, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. A lot of people go to these big box stores because they have really killer prices, but they don't understand what they're getting is not a good quality. They're getting high-speed transfer. They're getting stuff not even transferred. We've had people bring in wedding tapes that they went to a big box store and got it back and said rejected, that the tape was blank. And they're going, well, no, I know the tape's not blank. They'd go and look at it. Everything was fine. They'd be from out of the States or whatever, and they'd stop in at one of our locations and say, hey, this is what happened. And you can see the little sticker still on it from the big box store. We pop it in, and there's some problems with the first 5 to 7 minutes, but then after that, everything's fine on the tape.
So they didn't look far enough onto the tape.
Exactly. Well, what they do is these people aren't in a big professional building like us. They're in these cubicles, and they're told by their employees, you pop it in. If nothing shows up in 2 to 3 minutes, rejected, pop it out. Because it's going to cost them more money to sit there and look at your tape and find out what's wrong and see if they can fix it than just rejecting it and going on to the next customer's tape.
Oof.
Any legitimate company out there is going to give your tapes or film the tender, loving care they deserve, that if something's blank at the first 5 to 7 minutes, they'll find out, hey, what's the problem? Was this done in a weird mode, whatever? And they'll do all they can to make sure your memories get preserved instead of just throwing it to the side and going on to the next clients. So just make sure you interview them, ask them these questions. Ask them, do you do it in real time? What if the first 10 minutes of my tape are blank? Are you just going to stop and go on to the next customer? If you're a credible company, you should be able to do everything you need to take care of the customer to make sure their products are done correctly and to the best of your ability. And so going back to the question that the gentleman asked in the first section, I totally agree with what he wants to do. New discs, new technology is always coming out. You always want to upgrade. Like we had a seminar that we did a few weeks ago that people asked a question about, I didn't know there's a difference between discs. I thought they were all the same. What do I need to do so I don't lose all my content in 3 to 4 to 5 years? Take it to any reputable place that uses tile Uden discs, and you can upgrade it to a tile Uden disc and just play a duplication cost. They're not going to change anything. It's not going to hurt your quality at all. It'll just put on a better quality disc. You can also go to the M disc, which is a millennial disc that have 1,000-year shelf life on them. Even if you've got Blu-rays, you can even upgrade your Blu-rays to a millennial Blu-ray disc. And any credible place out there will be able to do these for you or show you somebody that can do it so that you can constantly be upgrading your thing so you have it the very best possible. And like we've always said, a good way to store stuff is turn all your video stuff into MP4s and all your audio into MP3s, because they're small enough that you can store a lot of them on your hard drive, in the cloud, on your disks. So you've got all these backups just in case something goes haywire.
Boy, there are a lot of options, aren't there?
There are quite a few.
And the idea that you get the disk, it really just makes it transportable so you can store it on clouds, and then you can go ahead and edit them and make them into usable pieces that can be fun for people to watch instead of going through all the rough footage, right?
Oh, exactly. And that's what's neat about the new thumb drives that are better quality. You can put things on those, carry it on your wrist or whatever, and it makes it really, really nice. If you're having problems finding somebody in your area, let us know. Just write me at asktom@tmcplace.com. Tell me where you live, and maybe I can help you find somebody that will be able to take care of you the proper ways.
All right, Tom. Talk to you again next week.
See you then.
Hey, we're shutting it down for another week. Can't believe it. Thanks once again to Josh Taylor, president of the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society, for coming on and telling us what's happening with New York records from the 1600s all the way into the 20th century. And to Robin Hoff for telling us about his experience in meeting the last surviving Civil War soldier in Minnesota. If you missed any of it, catch the podcast. Talk to you again next week. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.